You're listening to Behind the Reality. Real people, real stories, real life.
My name's Olivia Butler-Fagbohun, and I was a participant on the show HouseShare's in 2019.
Could you explain to the listeners the premise of HouseShare and what the show's about?
Yeah, so HouseShare's was a brand new idea. It was supposed to be a social experiment, but as the users found, it got a bit more reality. The idea was just to get a bunch of random people in a house together, see if they could basically survive sharing a bank account, and if the differences within pay and lifestyle would really affect it ultimately.
And how did you end up on HouseShare? Like, what was it? What was the process behind that?
Well, this is what it sounds crazy, but it really was just fate. I was scrolling through Insta one day, minding my business, do me, and it literally, an ad for BBC Three popped up like, "Do you want to live in London?" I was like, "Yes." It's like, "Do you not necessarily have a lot of money?" I was like, "Yes, this is all me. I need to do it." So I just signed up for it, and it was quite a lengthy thing. It was quite a lengthy, online platform. But then once you got through one stage, and it was a case of like, right, I've just got to keep going, and then look just had it that they wanted me, so I was like, yeah, of course. So
Amazing. And have you always wanted to be on TV? And why did you? I mean, you kind of answered it already, but why did you want to go on HouseShare in particular?
So it's not always been a big goal for me to be on TV. I've always been creative. I've always loved dancing, singing, like art. I was always in musicals in school, in primary school, and my mum always tried to push that because she could see it made me happy. But I'd say coming into secondary school, there was definitely a switch in priorities. I think down to the socialisation of my school, I think they pushed the academic career, which made me kind of drop my aspiration and drive for anything creative. But then after that, I actually went to Cardiff and did a psychology. Well, I started a psychology degree, and then I ended up dropping out and coming back home to Bradford, and then I got a full-time job. So it was a case of me just changing completely the way my life was going, but in a way, it was all supposed to happen because I'm where I am now.
And what were the positive aspects of your experience on HouseShare?
Oh, there's so many positive aspects of HouseShare that I can't even start it. The people, honestly, were the biggest change. Not even just the people I lived with. It was the staff. It was the crew. Everybody. It made me definitely harder. I think I went into it, bless me, with so much love and light, so much spirituality. But then I hadn't really, at that point, patterned myself to the extent I'd say I have now. So it really did change me in all the positive ways that I hoped it did. Ultimately, I think the most, not even ultimately, I think there was a lot of aspects that changed me, but I think the thing that changed me the most was living with people that were already quite secure within society in regards to a profession, So I think I took on a lot of their realism and their way of, their approach to life. I think because I'm like the wind. I really just do go where I feel, and to an extent, I think that's kind of stopped me in life from being able to reach my full potential. So living with people from different places and different occupations, different ages, it really did just, I think subconsciously, open me up and take on qualities that I never thought I could have. But I think that's just generally life. I think, people are in your life for a reason, and they leave your life for a reason. So depending on what you need to learn and how you need to grow will depend on who you're around.
Mm. Do you think that HouseShare was more meaningful than some of the other kind of reality shows?
Yeah, I honestly think HouseShare was, I think the heart was in the right place. It was completely random. Like, I honestly, still to this day, think it's crazy how much I get on with the people in the house, and it was complete luck of the draw. It was done, they kept saying it's a social experiment, and we were like, is it though? Because we're all, I don't know, at first it was awkward, but it did begin to feel like a house and a family. Obviously, we're all aware that media and all types of platforms are really important nowadays, and they have an impact on all of us. But I do think HouseShare's the one show that have tried to produce the purest, most honest attempt in showing you're just showing people an insight into how money changes people and how different lifestyles really do affect somebody. Because I know looking at the house, like, if you watch the show, Rian, bless him, he did, use the money to buy them shoes. So naturally everyone's going to hate him. But I know, like, even though we agreed as a house that he shouldn't be allowed to live with us because of the disrespect, the next day I actually remember crying. Like, it was really peak. Like, but this is what I mean. It's strong to cry. It's strong. I've learned that the hard way, that it's strong to cry. But I felt bad because I thought, how is somebody that's always had this life and this, way of living ever going to know another life if we don't teach him, if we don't help him? But instead, we were all just hurt. We were all mad. We were like, we want him out. He's not living with us. That energy and that. But looking back, we could have realistically just patterned him. We could have just shown him, the effect it would have had. And you can't learn unless, it got deep. But yeah, I think that in itself, like, all of that, it was all so pure and it was all real. And I think it's hard to find that, especially 2020, like, everyone's fake out here, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, big up, HouseShare, man.
Yeah. People sometimes question how, like, real reality TV is. How aware were you of the cameras and how real was it for you?
I think because people are so aware of how real TV is nowadays, it was hard initially, I'll be honest. It was the first time I'd ever been on TV or anything, high rate. Like, so I was very conscious, I will be honest. I think as well in the house, I remember when we first got our mics on, it was like a thing. We were all like, make sure your mic's off when you go to the toilet. People can hear you pissing. Like, Like, it was jokes at first. But then, like, as things changed in the house and how dynamics changed, it was like people's trust levels changed. Part of the contract when you do any sort of reality TV, there will always be a contract, and within it, it will say somewhere, like, the times you're allowed to have your mics on and when you're not allowed to have your mics on. So when we first got to the house, we all signed this. So at one point, we were all kind of getting told off, like, you all need to stop touching your mics because it costs this much money. You all need to stop doing this because da-da-da. So, and I get that, though, because that's what you sign up for. But at the same time, after, I say, like, the first 2 weeks, like I say, you become family with the crewmates. Like, it's not, I don't know, maybe it was just the crew I work with, but they were amazing. Like, they made you feel comfortable. They were funny. Like, it was just great. It was great. Yeah.
Do you think the show felt real, or do you think the dynamics were quite produced by the crew?
Everything that took place on the show was 100% real in regards to relationships and in regards to what got said. But I will say that, of course, as an artist, I know that when you create something, there's always an intention or a purpose. So we were all aware that when we were doing something, like when we were, wanting to plan something to do, and the crew were around us, we would all be talking together because we were friends. So because we had that rapport with them, they'd kind of like, I think, looking back, they'd probably like subconsciously, they'd like, oh, well, what about this? Oh, what do you... And we were like, oh my God, yeah. So we'd obviously go with it and it'd be great. And it just so happened that, but then we'd be filmed at this venue. So I can see now, after looking back, that there were times when they'd want a certain shot. So maybe they'd kind of elicit a certain, they were very smart about it. But I guess you have to be. I'm not going to lie. You have to be. Like, yeah, we were all rowdy.
Yeah. So did you watch the show back fully, or did you like watch bits of it, or?
Yeah, I watched it back fully. I waited a while though. I wanted to be in the right state of mind. I wanted to be ready. Like, we did have a private viewing of the first episode before it was even released. I remember they paid for our transport and everything. So that was great. And I was like, right, it's a real deal. It's happening. And they got it up in the headquarters and I loved it. The first episode, the editing, the aesthetic, the music. Yes, I was loving it. Because the media company that it's with, that funded it, quite a new one. So I was intrigued to see what it was going to be like how they're going to portray us, are they going to mix it? But they really did, I think, reflect each of us with the whole aesthetic of the show. So I was like, hats off to all the editors. everybody, yeah.
Yeah,
it was good.
brilliant. That kind of leads me on to my next one then. Do you believe that the editing portrayed you accurately, and were you happy with what was shown of you? Or do you think there were things that could have been shown that would have pictured you more in a true light? Or
I'm not going to lie, I basically moved for university, I moved into a new house, so I've got another house share. And when it was out, they watched it. And like, they were all saying like, like, why did you, there was like, when did you get a job? Like, it just kind of all skipped, and for like ages you weren't paying, and then all of a sudden you were paying. They were like, did no one kick off at you? Like, what was happening? They didn't show that. And I didn't realise that until I watched it. But it was the way that I had to, because I was the profession I wanted to do, I had to do a lot of training. And so the training itself, it was like, initially it wasn't paid for. So they were like, it was just a long story. This is what I mean. I feel like, honestly, yeah, there's probably more things that I was doing that I know I did. And I thought, oh, like, just because it's me, like who I am, like, for example, yoga, somewhat random. I think I forget that there's an agenda. With every sort of show, especially reality TV, there's an agenda. So even though I'm thinking, why have they not showed me doing yoga? It's because they need to show, do you know what I mean? Like, buying clothes or whatever. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was cut out, I think, the relationship dynamics, like, everyone got on, but there was few arguments that weren't included. There was a lot of, like, backstage, like, goss that wasn't included. But obviously, that's because the show wasn't about that. But yeah, I think I'll be honest, I was extremely skeptical about the whole editing, about the whole being on TV, because I thought, Ross, I'm not trying to get no misinterpretation of myself. I want to be, I'm going to make sure it's right. That
kind of leads me on to my next question. So, like, obviously, being a woman of colour in reality TV, they are not often represented in a positive light. So was that something that went through your head before you went on the show?
Well, I was of course, because of my own beliefs and my way of life, and a lot of the things that I choose to look into and to be knowledgeable about, I was extremely worried of how they were going to portray that. Going into the house with spiritual beliefs that aren't the majority in society was definitely hard, and it was something that I was a bit on edge about. And I think as well, because of the stereotypes that come with Wicca and any sort of religion that is based around the pentagram, it can very easily like switch to voodoo just because a person of colour is involved. So already being kind of a minority in my beliefs, and then as well with my skin colour, I was extremely cautious of how I was going to be portrayed, because I already knew there was this preconception of black magic and voodoo and bad juju, which everybody knows about. So I didn't want to be demonized by my own people, and I didn't want to be demonized by, the larger society, because ultimately I just think it is just a misunderstanding. So when they were doing, close-ups of my pentagram and close-ups of my crystals and like parts of me, like there was always that thought that was like, yo, like they could do you dirty here. They could be making out like you're some next, I don't know. So luckily, it was portrayed beautifully, and they didn't, paint me in any light. So I hope that if anything, aided people's ability to be free. I hope people watched it and were like, oh my gosh, like she's doing what, like, I don't know. I just hope it makes people think twice. Like, oh, what's Wicca? Like, oh, maybe black magic isn't what we think it is. So, as well as it being an act of liberation in my ideas and my ideologies, it was also, I think it's the reason why I'm so confident now, because I've had to portray myself as a person with these ideas, and I've had to sum myself up and put myself in like a margin. Yeah, I don't think it's not been a detriment to me. It's been good, and I just hope it helps other creative people of colour and differences to be one and be happy. But I think more so with my beliefs, I think it's easily to misinterpret any sort of spirituality, especially Wicca. I think that's such a misinterpretation. People see a pentagram and they think demon, they think demonic, but actually it just represents each element and spirit. Like it's the world. It's the way that things have been taught to people. But for me, it was 100% something that at that time, because I always say I believe in all religions because I've looked at all of them and I feel I resonate with each one in different ways. So same with Wicca, same with any sort of thing, I'll always look into it because you never know what you're going to get. And at that time, it just so happened that I just started getting into Wicca. So when I was explaining this in my interview, they were like, oh, what's that then? So of course, because it's not normal, it's not the average, they were more intrigued. I'm like, oh, let's get her in. She's a bit weirder. We need a weird. They always need a weirdo. So I was like, oh my God, Mum was like, they're gonna portray you as some crazy hippie. I was like, Mum, you need to relax. Like, I got this. The universe got me, and it did get me. So, yeah, I was happy to show people a way of life that's not necessarily in the focal point of society. Because I think for me, it works amazingly. Like, my way of life, I would promote it to anybody. But obviously, I'm not trying to recruit because but it was nice to be able to neutrally portray something. It wasn't as much. I think I was quite, if anything, confident and proud of my colour, and I was excited to show that because I thought, wow, like, I've got the opportunity to be a role model now. For my little sister's 8, so not even just my little, every child of colour that needs a role model, because we always say, like, in my house, people like, there was no, like, Georgia Smith when we was growing up, like, yeah, Destiny's Child, but we need, do you know what I mean? There was nothing relatable. So I was gassed about that. But me and another housemate, yeah, we did speak about the idea of how usually black women are portrayed as angry, and there's a lot of misunderstanding of the culture, which leads to the ignorance of it. So we, again, like I say, we were skeptical throughout because we were like, like, why are you trying to, at one point it felt as if they were always asking the same questions to every single one of us. So obviously we'd all speak. So when you do your own interviews, they'll say like, oh, so da-da-da-da-da, and you'll speak, of course. But there were times when we'd all find, like, repetition in what they've been asking us, as if they're trying to initiate sometimes like an argument maybe, which is not personal. No one took it personally, but it was just, I think, a shock because you do ultimately trust them. You trust them because, they've given you this house, you're living together with these people, this opportunity, it's all because of them. So, yeah, it was all extremely, like, just questionable.
Yeah. And was there anything kind of interesting that might surprise people that you wouldn't normally, you wouldn't see just from watching it on the TV?
It is really hard to get the full dynamics of a household through a TV because, again, you'll only see certain times of the day. Actually, like Love Island, like, you'll see a certain time and that whole hour is not even as much as the whole 24 hours, So, yeah, I think there were a lot of things that weren't necessarily seen, but it's all right.
Was there any, you talked about the positives, were there any downsides to appearing on the show, do you think?
I think the only downside, which I thought would it wasn't even me, it was my mum. She was just worrying about me. She was like, what if you're so bold, you're so fierce? She's like, what if someone says all these mean things to you? What if people... I was just like, Mum, like, you can't live your life like that. If you live your life worrying, you never get anywhere. You never get out of the house. So really and truly, I've not witnessed or felt any bad effects from the show. I mean, I know there's a lot going on, especially right now with Caroline Flack and all the effects of reality TV. I get that, but I think it's Youngest Media, they really did look after us. And I didn't, there was a psychologist, like, I got that, I was like, this can't be right. They were like, yeah, you're going to just do your checkup. Like, if you ever need him after the show, you can contact him. Like, so that was all patterned. They really did take care of us.
So there was some conflict amongst the housemates, like, throughout some of the episodes, and, like, personalities clashed at times. Do you think that this was deliberate in the casting?
110 million%. Oh my gosh. Like, at first, before I'd met anybody, and they came to everyone's hometown to film a bit of you, just to get the gist for the TV. And I remember the crew, they'd all met each person. So I was like, oh, like, tell me some insight, like, give me some dirt. And they were just like, oh, no, it's fine. You could, no, like, we can't say anything. But as soon as, like, everyone was together I could just see the plan in physical form. I was like, y'all had this plan from day. But it was funny though, because it was nice to see the parts everyone would play out, because obviously there's so many people, and I know I'll go with the flow, I'll be the peacekeeper. But yeah, it was interesting. Like, if the people were more similar, would it have been as entertaining? Would it have been as fun? Would I have grown as much? Probably not.
Yeah, definitely. And then we touched on this a little bit already, but like, as a creative person of colour, do you feel like your experience was shaped differently to some of the other participants, like Paul or Rian or the people?
To consider, sorry, it's just the first time I've looked at it like from that perspective.
Yeah.
Watching it back, I've always said this personally. I thought Muna was the most underrepresented person in that house. Big up to Muna. Oh my God, she is my G. She's honestly the definition of a strong, independent woman. And I wish she would have got way more airtime, because yeah, they showed this recruitment side to her. They showed this side to her that, loves food, but who does, like, everyone loves food, do you know what I mean? And they kind of played on that, but in reality, she has so much more depth in her, and I've such a soul bond with her. Like, I feel like we keep saying that she's my soul sister. Like, I know her from a different life, but that would never have been relayed if I wouldn't have said this. No one would have known how much energy and how funny she is. And yeah, I do think that they really did focus on the focal points were Rian and the shoe thing. I think the pride thing for Paul, but which is fine. Like, I feel like, we need to back that anyway. I think all of that needs backing. But Muna, she was definitely under. She just needed more airtime. Like, simple. And even Jess, like, Jess was so funny. Oh, like, even bloody. I see what I'm saying. I could see. Like, I think, to be honest, everybody was underrepresented. Even Rian Blessing was underrepresented because, yeah, he was a prick. Like, he was he'd come from a well-funded background, but his dad had to work for what he got, and he's had that same mindset instilled to him that, if you work for something, you're worthy of more. Not necessarily that I agree with it, but
there was an article and it said that the show was basically like modern day communism. So, in the terms of like, you have to share everything with each other and like, and they said that it was proof that sharing your earnings with others, it just doesn't work. So do you think that's fair or no?
No, I think that's a lie. I'm sorry, but the show itself, it proved, if anything, that society collapses because of greed. It's nothing to do with because people were living together in a house. If anything, the diversity amongst the people allowed the house to run smoother, because when someone acted out in a way, another person would be able to be like having different people in the house has different perspectives. So I think we all differed at some different point, but we could all see common ground. And even Rian, I mean, it's what annoyed me with the kid. Like, we planned that week because it was our first week. We had loads of money. We were going to do lit stuff. We were going to do this. We were going to do that. And like, he was gassed. Like, behind scenes, like we were all just so happy. And then he just did that. So yeah. So I don't think it's fair to say no. I think it's definitely fair to say that class is definitely a large independent factor in society. And maybe if we look at some sort of way to, I don't know. I just feel like living in it, apart from that one hiccup with Rian, it was a lovely experience. But equally, when Rian left, it allowed for Brad to come in, and I love Brad to pieces, and I want to change that. So equally, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. So there was one part of the show where you nearly ended up going through everyone's personal belongings to catch out the liar. Do you think that reality TV can make people like behave differently than they normally would in the real world? Is that something that you would do?
No, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'll be honest, that definitely, I was at that point getting gassed up by the TV people. Like, the crew were definitely gassing me up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I am quite like, I love I love everything pretty much. I love being a detective. I love trying to help people, justice, all of that. But I think it was more at that moment in time. Oh, this is the thing. Like, 'cause part of us kind of knew what was happening, but then didn't know what was happening. And like, because basically the first week, Reen said as a joke, "Oh yeah, it's like I'm gonna buy some shoes. Like, it's, oh, I'm gonna buy some really nice shoes." So apparently, his justification for buying those dirty ass shoes was because when we first, that was it. It was the homeless comment. When he called us homeless and we kicked off, he was like, "Yep, that was his justification." He was trying to make a what point? Sorry, what point did you make, Reen? Apart from that, you're silly.
Oh, it's just so funny that moment when it was like, no, don't go through my stuff.
Honestly, because it was like, I would have done it though. I feel like, because at the end of the day, we needed to catch this criminal. Like, we needed to catch him. Like, until that point, everyone was a suspect. But I definitely wouldn't initiate the looking through people's stuff. But
so even though it was a reality show without kind of eliminations and stuff as part of the format, you did all decide to vote Rian out of the program, and he ended up leaving the show earlier than everybody else. What kind of made you decide to do this?
Well, it was the day we found out. We were told Rian would be coming back home, and we all got that text, obviously saying that. I think it was I can't even remember the amount, but however much had gone from the account. So everyone was like, nah. James was fuming. Everyone was fuming, and the crew were just like, Rian's coming home. People like make your way to the kitchen. So we were just like calm. So I'm thinking, oh my god, the storm that's coming. And then it was his reaction. It was the smug. It was the way he was being so. Yeah, you're right. I can't even do the Essex accent, but you know what? He was just, you're all right, guy. And it's funny because James was like, if I walk in, I can't even do accents, but James is Scottish. I imagine that. He's like, if I walk in there and he's like, you're all right, I'll actually punch him in the face. And he did the exact same thing. Oh, it's just because he was so smug. I think we all that day tried to tell him how we felt, and his response was he was not apologetic. He was like, "What? It's done now. It's done. It's all, I can't." Even But because of his reaction, we all said, if he wanted to apologise, we could have rectified the issue, and he could have just stayed. He could have just took him back. It was fine. But as a house, we made a meeting and was like, look, his attitude's not changed. Do you all feel cool with him still being here? And everybody did say no, apart from Jess. And bless Jess, she was loyal to him. But at that time, I think the decision had been made. You know what I mean? He'd made his bed. He had to lie in it.
So at the end of the show, you did say that you wanted to stay in London, but then soon after the show finished, you did actually move back home, and you decided to take up education again and get like an art degree. So what? I mean, did the reality of the real world hit you, or was it just something that you felt right? Or
well, when I was working in London, I was doing domiciliary care with Link Care, and it was a lady that did my shadowing, and she was. I loved her. I think she was a Nigerian lady. And I remember, because she was a Virgo like me, and I just remember looking at her being like, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous. She had like her chains on and a plaits. I was like, yes. And she was saying to me how important education was, and how she was like, because I was saying, at this point, I was writing my own music, so I was like, I want to be a singer, I want to pursue that. And she was like, basically like, no, B. She's like, you need to go back to university. She's like, it's free here. She's like, you need to finesse life, and if you're going to do that, it's like, your best opportunity is going back to uni. So I was like, okay, calm. Like, I can still be in London. I can work. I can go to uni in London. I'll just do a music degree. And I tried to apply for Westminster, and they were like, yeah, we need you to perform. Bring a band. I was like, bring a band? Who just has a band in the back pocket? So obviously that didn't happen. So I started getting a bit panicked. I was like, I'll just work, and I'll part time, try busk, and I'll try and make it. But it all got too much, and I thought, you know what? I miss home as well. Like, I love London, but it is definitely a seasonal thing for me. The energy is way too claustrophobic. So I started to get a bit homesick. So I was like, you know what? Uni's saying no. The money and prices are saying too much here. Let me just go back home. So I went back home up north, and then luckily through clearing, I got into Leeds Beckett, and then I was like, fine art, perfect. I've always wanted to do art. So.
Amazing. So did you feel like you got what you wanted from the show then, or?
Yeah, I think this is what I mean. Look, when I watch the show now, I'm like, oh, go me, like, yeah, big up. But at the time, I remember, especially the open mic, I was so nervous. That day I even said, I was like, I'm not doing it. I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, I'm not ready. Like, I need to be ready as an artist. Gassing myself up. And I did it anyway. But I think if I went back, I wish I would have been more confident in myself. Like, I could have made that whole performance into a routine. I could have had a coach. You know what I mean? I could have done the most, but instead I was just doing a tiny little bit. So that's only it, yeah.
That's actually my next question. So you performed at the open mic on the show, and that was like your first performance.
Yeah.
What was it like having your first ever performance filmed for everyone to see?
Honestly, like, even now, because I remember that whole day, like, for time I was putting it off because obviously I needed to find a job. They were like, just find a job, that's priority. Because I remember mentioning it when I did the interview at first, that I wanted to do music and possibly try an open mic. So I was like, oh, they've forgot, no one's mentioned it. And then it comes the last week and they're like, oh, so you want to do an open mic, Olivia? I'm like, yeah, like crying. So I've got my music, my songs out here, I've not got my music, I've no instruments, like, I can't even play the instruments, like, what am I going to do? But they're like, no, like, oh, don't worry, like, well, it's really relaxed, it's calm. So they did luckily calm me down and was like, it's not a big thing. But even till the point when we got to the cafe, I was like, I'm not doing it. And then everyone was like, come on, Olivia, like, you're here now, just do it. And just giving me bare love. So I did it, but yeah, it was well nerve-wracking. Bit peak, but
it was worthwhile though.
Yeah, I mean, I am proud of myself. Like, that's the first open mic I've ever done, and the fact it was on TV, yeah.
So after the show finished, what was it like adjusting back to the real world? Like, there's no cameras following you, like things aren't being paid for, that kind of stuff. What was it like adjusting back?
You know what? It was actually nice. It felt like, for me, this is like personally, I felt way more confident in myself. I felt like if I was going somewhere, like, I had this extra sense of awareness that TV brought to me. Like, the amount of times when I'd been working, I'd come home, to get in the house, I'd have to do an open shot. So I'd have to walk back. And then just the little bits, it started to get so frustrating and it started to get a bit claustrophobic. So when the filming stopped, it was like, like this breath of fresh air. Everyone was lit again. Like, so it did, if anything, it was perfect when the TV stopped, because it made me realise as well, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't be a TV person. Like, it is 24/7 and it is a lot, but it's an experience, isn't it?
So do you think you wouldn't do TV again?
I keep saying this. I say I won't go out looking for reality TV options, but if someone come to me or if opportunities find me, of course I will. Yes, I will. But I'm not right now. I want to channel all my energy into my, like, creative, my website, my photography. I want to be, patterning myself. So if it helps and it's on the way, yeah, sure. But nah, not really.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit before. Aftercare that you received, like, from the team.
Well, after the house, we were told. So it actually was for 2 months. We stayed in the house, and the contract / deal was that if we, lived in the house for the first month, we could live in the house for the second month, but for free. So that was kind of our payment. But before that took place, before we could stay in the house for that month, we had to have a meeting with the producer regarding, like, the salary we was on and if that realistically would last us living in London. So, for example, with certain people, well, no one actually, because obviously Jess left before, but for example, if she would have stayed, she would have possibly had to either looking into getting a better paid job or have gone home. So it was good. Like, they were never, like, unrealistic with what they promised. They were never like, this is it, like, bye. And then, especially after as well, I think it was even, we had, like, a catch up with Dr. Howie again, which is a psychologist. And then we had, like, another, I think it was this last month, either way, we've had, like, 3 separate occasions after the show speaking to the Dr. Howie and him assessing us and just having someone to listen, really, which was really nice. But yeah, I think because it wasn't really negative for me, like, I didn't feel worse. I felt better after. So it was like, yeah, it was nice to not have to just, yeah.
So so you'd say your experience with aftercare was positive then?
Yeah, so 100% my experience with aftercare was positive. We was looked after 100% from the start till the end.
Brilliant. So what do you think about like the recent criticisms surrounding like contestant welfare on other reality shows? Do you think that there's truth to it, or do you think that it's a bit overhyped at the minute?
I honestly do think it's completely not just a hype. I think it should be hyped more, even yeah, to the extent it is. I think, you know, luckily for HouseShare, it was 100%. It was a real show. I had to just be me, and I think that's something that now, especially like I will only do me. So I can't really undo me. But for these shows like Love Island, you go on, like, don't get me wrong, in the day, I always think like, yes, they're in the sun, no makeup. But then as soon as night, every single night, putting on makeup, can't be arsed. Like, it just seems long. And of course, with that, they've also got the aesthetic with it, the dresses, the outfits, and that then creates pressure. And then, so I completely am sticky, because as much as reality TV is a good thing because it makes people more comfortable with the way they look and sexuality and so forth, but then there's also this dual side to it. I just think that if people were just more aware of everybody's sensitivity, I think that's what it is, because we can all feel a certain way but not speak about it, and it's that not speaking about it that perpetuates it even more. And I think because someone that has suffered with mental health, and my mum has and her dad has, like, I think it's more the mental health side that's ultimately got neglect. I think mental health in our society has been neglected for so long, not because there's this ulterior motive, just because the understanding of the mind has been shocking, personally. So I think once we all as a society understand, you know, the needs of treating mental health and how important it is, just then I think media wouldn't be an issue, reality TV wouldn't be an issue, because we're all educated. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to push it onto reality TV, no, but I do also think that they have to take responsibility for all these deaths and, you know, that they're happening, because it's a codependent relationship. It's everyone's fault, low key.
Definitely. So HouseShare was quite like a low-key kind of show. It was on BBC Three, like digital platform, not necessarily like broadcast on the main channels.
Yeah.
Did you get like any public reaction or attention afterwards, or was it literally just like back to normal life?
Well, this was weird. I remember at the time after I went back to working at Foot Asylum in Leeds, and I was doing a close, minding my own business. Before this, nothing had happened, and this girl was like, "Oh my gosh, Olivia from HouseShare." I was like, yeah. I was like, what do I do? Like, do I hug her? Like, do I say, like, what do you do? How do you act? So at first, yeah, it was nothing. And then that happened. And I was like, oh my God. And then another one that same day happened in Poundland. The guy was like, oh my God. Yes. I was like, I knew you were from Yorkshire. Like, I saw you on that show. And then from there, it's been like random places I go. I get the odd person just being like, are you that person? And I'm like, oh my. But now it's at the point where it's like, it happens at really awkward times. Like, where was I? I was trying to buy something at a pharmacy, and this like drunk lady was just like, I'm sure you're from HouseShare. And I was like, oh my God, get me out of here. But so yeah, it's been funny. It's not been too much. So it's not been like, oh my God, I can't go out, like I need glasses. But it's just been enough to it's like, oh, it's nice. Like people know me. That's cool.
Did you have to deal with any trolling after the show, and how did you handle it if you did?
Well, I've not had a smartphone since the end of 2019. So I've actually been on Brick Phone live since the start of 2020. So if there has been, I'm yet to see them. I'm yet to laugh at them. If there ever is anything, I feel like I would always just laugh. Like, I don't really I take live very easily. I think, so if someone's actually making a troll out of me, like, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of an honour, like, thank you. The attention I had was all it was going to be, like, the odd person here and there, and I feel like that was all it was and all it will be. But I don't know, I think I like that, though. I like the low-keyness, and then just being like, oh, yeah, I was on BBC Three show. What? People are like, what? I'm like, yeah, random. The main reason why I switched to Brick Life was because the smartphone life, I call it the vortex. Do you ever do this thing where you get home at 1 o'clock, you're just on your phone, it gets to like 2 o'clock and you're like, what? who's taking my time? And I hated that violation because it was so nobody realizes. So I was like, right, I can't have smartphones anymore. I'm going to just get a brick phone and then just have a laptop so that I can have my social media and then my actual life separate. So then I've got no pressure, got no Snapchat, got nothing just there. Because for me, I think social media is great. I love the connectedness. I love it. But it's just too much. I think I like to have, I don't know, a bit of a retreatist when it comes to socials. Like, if I'm not feeling it, I think I won't do it. I have to be in the right state of mind to post. I have to be in the right state of mind to be looking at other people's stuff because I know the effect it has on me. If I'm not doing good and I'm seeing other people, doing lit or doing bad, either way, it's going to have an effect on me. And if I'm vulnerable at that time, I definitely won't be on socials.
Are you kind of happy that you were on a kind of a more low-key show because you get the attention, but it's not too much?
Literally, like, thankfully, it's something that the people that have watched it, I don't want it to sound the wrong way, but I feel like BBC generally has a certain level of intellect it has to kind of obtain as a company. I think if they drop below a certain standard, it's kind of like, I think the producers and the people higher up probably have something to say. That's why you have to go to ITV for all your IB for weekend, and you know what I'm saying? So I think because of that, it's meant that the people who've watched it, the target audience, have been from a select kind of group in society. But I don't think that's necessarily fair. Like, I mean, I wish it would have been. I kind of do wish it would have been broadcasted on normal TV because then anyone could have watched it, and then more people would have seen. Oh my God, like, because I think it was really interesting to see how people live together, and it can, like, I took a lot from it, so people could take from it. But in a way, it's kind of perfect because I think everyone that's watched it has been able to have constructive or like I don't know, I think everyone I've spoken to, I've had quite intellectual conversations about. I've not had anyone, do you know what I mean? Apart from, like I said, like a younger girl who was just really happy to see me, everyone I've spoken to has been like, oh, so what was this like? What was this? The class, da-da-da-da. So I think I've been lucky. Yeah, I have been lucky with the platform it's been showed on.
Yeah, definitely. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's thinking of going on reality TV, what advice would it be?
If I was going to give advice to someone that was going to be on reality TV, I would say just 100% be yourself, but also be aware of the wider impacts of the show and how you're portrayed and how that will have a knock-on effect to people that watch it. Just be you. Be 100. Be real, not radical. Like, literally, one thing with Rian, bless him, I think he went in with an agenda. He went in, trying to be someone, thinking that being a certain way would get him the response he wanted, but obviously it didn't, and that backfired. So I would just say to people, just be aware of that. Like, make sure the perception you want to portray is actually you. And then the second one, I'd say, just have fun. Like, I think I definitely stuck the fun out of it towards the end because it started to get stressful in regards to getting a job and then the dynamics in the house. Like, I just started to stop enjoying. Not necessarily stop enjoying, but I just think, looking back now, I couldn't look past the experience. I was just very much in it and I wanted to, like, get to the next part. But now I think I just wished it away a bit. Like, it was lovely, so yeah. Enjoy it.
Would you say reality TV changed your life, and would you say positively or negatively, or just no impact?
100% it changed my life. Whether that was because it was on TV, whether it's because, it's something that I knew potentially anybody could see, I don't know. I think overall it was, like I've said before, it was the people that changed me. This experience itself, it could have happened the exact same, but if the people weren't the people that were there, it would just, I wouldn't have been different, but it just would have felt different, yeah, literally, just the people, man. The people.
Do you have any regrets about your experience? And if you do, what would you do differently?
My only regret on the show is when we kicked out Rian. And as much as, he did, do it himself, I wish that we all could have just waited out a bit longer. Like, only because I think that was the expected reaction, and that was what usually happens. I think we all instantly demonise somebody.
Would you say reality TV changed your life positively or negatively?
100%. I think reality TV changed my life positively. For me, it definitely gave me more of an insight into myself. It made me realise what I needed to work on because of the people that was around me, and based on how their lives were going and their careers, it was like an imprint subconsciously to me. So yeah, it definitely made me understand the duality of life, really, just like the balance and getting that right. So yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. And have you got any? I feel like I've asked this, but I don't think I have at the same time. Have you got any regrets about your experience, and would you do it again? What would you do differently if you did reality TV again?
Okay, if I did, when the opportunity comes, I'm trying to be careful with my wording because I'm trying to be careful what I attract. But when the opportunity comes in the future to do reality TV again, I will honestly just probably be exactly the same, unapologetically me, because I think that's all I can do at this point. Yes, so definitely no regrets, none at all.
What are you up to now, and how can people follow you, and what's next for you?
So I'm currently doing a fine art degree at Leeds Beckett, which is going so good. I'm so happy. And from that, I'm currently working on a website right now, and I'm wanting to create my own, I say, brand / collaborative group of creatives. I want to get together every creative within Leeds and try and just, let the creative side of Yorkshire just grow. What is next for me? Pandora box the world. I want to just open up and unleash all my potential and help the North just grow in its creative attributes, and just watch out for videos, for artwork, for photography, for music. Everything is literally going to be coming out of me this year, 2020. you're going to see it. So yeah, my Instagram, there'll be a YouTube channel coming as well. So yeah, you'll be able to reach me for sure.
Behind the reality.